What's up, everybody? I'm Nick Magnet.
And I'm Cherie Magnet.
And this is Team Magnet TV. So today we have a pretty interesting topic for you guys. We're going to talk to you about the Black Panther movie in our review for it. So are you ready to get into it? Because I am.
Oh yeah, I'm excited.
So, a couple things that we want to talk to you all about. First of all, are before we kind of get into integral details of the movie, or just like kind of like an outline of some of the things we will go over. So, first of all, I'm going to tell you some facts about Black Panther. I was going to say T'Challa, but some of y'all might not even know his name. So, Black Panther. I'm going to do a review of the actual movie. I'm going to talk about things that we both like and disliked about what we saw from the film. And then we're going to talk about who our favorite characters are. I'll do a little piece on the final cut scene, and then we'll eventually give our rating. So let's kind of start with, the stuff that you all may not have known about Black Panther. So first of all, he is the first black superhero to ever come out. So he was out before Green Lantern, John Stewart. He was out before Black Lightning. He was out before Luke Cage, like well before Luke Cage.
Oh yeah.
And he was definitely out before Icon or any of those other black superheroes that you know of. So he is monumental in that regard. He also is the richest superhero in both the DC and the Marvel world put together. I mean, think about it. He's richer than Oliver Queen. He's richer than Bruce Wayne. He's richer than Lex Luthor. He's richer than Tony Stark. He has more money than all of them. He is a trillionaire. So that's another pretty cool thing about him. He's a black trillionaire. How many times do you hear that?
You don't.
A black trillionaire. Like a lot of you are like, do those even go in the same sentence?
Like, no, they don't.
Right. Well, in his case, they do.
Yep.
So, the thing about also about this character is he also, like in a lot of his comics, was seen having fights with the KKK and fighting and like kind of like bringing in that real sense of justice that we kind of see in our everyday world. And he was first featured in a Fantastic Four comic. A lot of people don't even know that. That was the first time he ever made an appearance. So, it's a lot of very, interesting facts about him, but that's just in case you didn't know who he really was. And by the way, his name is T'Challa. A lot of people just know him as Black Panther, but his name is T'Challa. So, let's kind of get into a review here of the movie itself and kind of what happened. So, before, I tell you any integral details, the first thing I want to say is these are going to be spoilers. So if you have not seen the movie, if you have not even heard anything about it, don't want to hear anything about it, this is not the video for you. Yeah. Cut this video off right now.
Come back.
Come back.
Come back.
Right,
don't watch it right now. We don't want to ruin it for anybody.
Right.
So had to put out that disclaimer before we get into anything, because we're going to be letting a lot of different things out. So
exactly. And the thing about it is that we're not going to hold anything back. No. So I mean, if you're looking to, be surprised, then this is not the video for you. So, going forward.
Before you start, though, honey, I gotta say.
Go ahead.
This was the first time that I have, ever bought a ticket, 2 weeks before the movie came out.
Sure did, though.
And I've never done. I always look at people like, why are you buying tickets so early? But I wanted to make sure that we had our tickets, because they were selling out, the pre-sale tickets were selling out. And I was like, oh, yeah, we definitely got to make sure we get our tickets. So we actually saw it opening weekend, which it was packed. Yeah. So I'm glad that we did get it when we did. But I want to throw that out there as well. I've never done that before. This is the first movie I've ever done that for. And, yeah, it was well worth it.
Yeah, it really was. To me, I think that it also was kind of monumental in the fact that it actually broke records. Most I think, definitely. What was it, $213 million?
It might have been. It might have been even more than that.
On their first day or something like that.
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah,
it was insane. But anyway, so let's kind of go into the review here. So Black Panther, the actual movie, is semi piggybacking, and I say semi because not everything in this movie has to do with what I'm going to tell you, but it's kind of semi piggybacking off of Captain America: Civil War, because that was the first time he got introduced in the Marvel cinematic world.
Right.
So the movie kind of starts off telling like a little bit of a story for the characters who are important in this movie. So the first kind of shows an interaction between T'Chaka. T'Chaka is Black Panther's father, and he comes to America. Of course, he's from Wakanda, which is an African country that's considered a third world country for whatever reason in the Americas. Right. Anyway, so he's in the United States of America, and he is meeting up with Zuri. And I think his name was Njobi. I think that's how you say it. Yeah. I just wanted to say it right, but I don't know, Jobi, whatever, you know. But anyway, so he goes to them and he tells them, hey, there's been a traitor. You know, somebody has kind of, you know, told the secret of Wakanda, and the secret of Wakanda was their precious vibranium, which like is it's a material that they have received via the direction of the Panthers that are known to be sacred within Wakanda, and they have led their people to the source of vibranium, which has allowed them to create all this crazy technology that has gotten them so much more advanced, you know, than any place else. So basically, there had been a traitor who had exposed the United States to that source of vibranium, basically, and he went there to try to figure out who it was who had done that. So basically, long story short, what he basically found out was that in Njobi, I think Njobi or Njobi, he was the source as to the person who I guess had put it amongst the world, like amongst the United States when I say the world. So he was the source of the person who was trying to sell vibranium for his own purposes, because he went to America and he fell in love basically with this American woman. So that's kind of like where it started off. Then it kind of went into some other stuff, I guess like in actual Wakanda, so it cut away from that scene. And basically, it started off with like the christening of a new king. Christening of a new king being King. Well, at the time he was Prince T'Challa. So a couple things happened. He basically went to another area to go get his basically his old chick, Nakia. I think is how you say it, Nakia. And then where he was like, I'll never freeze. And he froze when he was there. Yeah. And
women have that, you know, effect on men. So
I don't know what y'all be doing, like for
we
real.
just be there, you know. I'm like, how you Black Panther? You just froze. Like,
right.
You see Nakia.
Hi.
Oh my God, like, you was just fighting. Like, right. What just happened? It was cute though.
So basically he went and got her, and then he was telling her kind of about the little thing that was going on in their country, and then they went on with with basically the christening, I guess. So basically, you know, they kind of let an open challenge so that anybody who wanted to come up and try to take the battle, you know, T'Challa for the throne, basically they were able to come up and do that. And he was first. Well, nobody was going to do it up until, I'm going to call him Manape, and I think what was his name, M'Baku.
Yeah, I think it's like M'Baku or something.
M'Baku, who is really Manape, but they didn't want to say Manape because of the fact that it's just like kind of like led to racial tensions with, you know, being a black male and being an A. They didn't want to kind of cross that barrier. Ryan Coogler even said that he didn't really want to get into that. And but anyway, so I guess like they had their initial fight, and T'Challa basically like tagged that butt. I mean, let's be real here. Yeah. I mean, sure, he got stabbed in you know, his chest and stuff, which was, you know, didn't look too pretty, but at the end of the day, he ended up tagging that butt. And my mans wanted to basically like die instead
Yeah.
of actually continuing to just fight and like rule his people. And T'Challa even reminded him, you need to,
Your
you know,
people
basically
need
your
you.
people need you,
Yeah.
basically. So he ended up basically taking the mantle as king. I think in the meantime, T'Challa's basically had plans to try to be the best king that he could be while still trying to just fathom this idea that his father wasn't there, because he wanted to be a great king just like he saw his father
Exactly.
as. And basically his boy I think his name was Wakabi. I think that's how you say his name. I want to make sure I'm saying these names right. That's why I keep saying that every time I bring up a name. But his boy Wakabi, or so-called boy Wakabi, who is and like the thing about him is like he was almost too woken, and I'll get into that in a minute. But his boy Wakabi was looking forward to a new king who could do different things than the old kings have done. And basically what the mission was at one point is they found out that there was basically a person who was going around, and they were kind of just trying to find vibranium in other areas, and they found out that person ended up being Ulysses Claw. Ulysses Claw is a known villain in the Black Panther series. He's also was an old friend, well, I'll call him a frenemy of Tony Stark. Like, they were associates, and he ended up becoming this evil kind of I want to say tactician, because he was going around like, you know, stealing like precious things, and vibranium ended up becoming one of the things that, you know, he, you know, treasured, along with Eric Killmonger, who's the main villain of this entire movie.
Claw was also the one that killed T'Chaka, which was Black Panther's father as well. So
they basically wanted, they basically wanted to bring Claw to justice, and and I think that's what his boy what is his name, Wakabi, Wakabi. He wanted Black Panther basically to, you know, make sure that he brought him back, you know, like, you know, dead, or, you know, make sure you got rid of him, like don't leave until you get rid of him, basically. And so that kind of was the mission initially. Now Eric Killmonger, he was, like I said, working with Ulysses Claw to try to get these artifacts from that had vibranium that were from Wakanda. But he had a bigger mission in mind, and we'll get to that in a minute. But basically, the bottom line was he was in the museum with Ulysses Claw, and I guess basically he kind of like threw some shade on the lady who was at the museum, because like she was trying to say that one of the artifacts was what did she say about it? I don't know if she said it was like it was British, or whatever it was, or something like that. But basically he was like, no, this is not British. The British stole this item from the Wakandans, basically. So she tried him, but he knew his facts. He knew the real facts. So he wasn't really trying to fill those alternative facts that she was trying to spit at him, and basically turned into a big thing. Basically they busted the thing up out of the museum, and then like his kind of estranged girlfriend, who apparently was acting like she was, you know, working at the museum, and Ulysses Claw took off, and like they were on to their little next little mission. So let's fast forward, because there's a lot of very unimportant parts here. But basically, so Killmonger, after, you know, like a big fight that Ulysses Claw has in Korea with Black Panther, Okoye, and Nakia. Like, after this big fight that they have, he gets captured. Then Killmonger saves him, but then he ends up killing him and his girlfriend, which we'll get into that in a minute as well too. And basically, Black Panther had realized that Ulysses Claw had escaped at some point. He wasn't able to bring him back. And what ended up happening is his boy Wakabi, or Wakobi, he got upset basically because you know, like, he didn't feel like he fulfilled the mission, because he was supposed to bring Ulysses Claw back dead, and he didn't. What ended up happening is Killmonger ended up finding his way over to Wakanda. He ended up showing Ulysses Claw as dead, and he ended up going to them and basically saying, well, like your king couldn't even do this, but here, this is
Mm-hmm.
what I did,
Right.
basically. So when he showed up to the mantle, they were basically wondering, who in the hell are you?
Mm-hmm.
And so then, that's when he kind of, told his piece and was talking about how he left, and he kind of, and then like how he was left, in the United States and things like that, and how basically he wanted to challenge the king. And so basically there was a fight between T'Challa and Killmonger, because T'Challa was the one who accepted the challenge, because he knew that and he found out when he had a conversation with Zuri that Killmonger basically was left behind.
Mm-hmm.
And so he knew basically who was walking up in there, because he found out that about T'Chaka killing his father, and he killed his father because he was going to attack Zuri for I guess like outing him about like taking the vibranium and distributing it in the United States, basically, and selling it. And T'Chaka wanted to keep that a secret, so Killmonger basically ended up missing out, because T'Chaka didn't take him back to Wakanda. He left him over there in California.
Mm-hmm.
So basically all this crazy stuff happened, and during the fight, which we already knew that T'Challa wasn't really ready,
Mm-hmm.
and Killmonger was too ready.
He
was way too ready.
And he had already, like, killed so many people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and he had it all over his body, like, all the people who he had killed. He had, like, marks
scars.
And stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he was ready for that fight. He even said, like, I've been for this fight my whole life. So,
man was treating like ready. It was tats.
Yeah, so, yeah, he really was.
Yeah, he was. He was like, these are marks of honor. Like, he was proud. But
yeah.
Anyway, so, he basically ends up beating T'Challa in the fight and throwing him off a waterfall. Don't even know if he's dead or not, but he just threw him off, and he said, I'm y'all new king now.
Right.
He wanted to burn legacies, because he told him to burn all the little sages and stuff like that they put him in, so that he could remember, so that he could have his memories and talk to the people he wanted to talk to, just as T'Challa did when he was about to become king. He wanted him to burn all of that. He wanted to get rid of the whole challenge thing. In the meantime, the people who were actually loyal to him, yes, we're going to talk about Wakabi again, because here's the problem that I have with Wakabi. So he got too woke, okay? And here's how you know he got too woke, because he came from a point where he was dealing with this white girl, in a movie that we know as Get Out, right? And so Wakabi, so let me break it down for you. So Wakabi basically got too woke. He went from not being woke at all to being too woke. So he went from going and meeting her parents and dealing with this chick who was drinking milk out of a bowl and then like eating little cereal pieces in the meantime to combine with the milk she just drunk. He was dealing with chicks like her, and then he said, screw it, I'm going to go to Africa, I'm going to go to Wakanda, and ain't nothing going to stop me. I'm not going to date no more white girls. I'm not going to betray my people. I'm going to be a part of my people, a part of this new society where they got technology, they got vibranium. And then guess what? He got too woke, because when Killmonger ended up getting the mantle, he sided with him. He was ready to take T'Challa out. That dude was too woke. He already knew about his other experiences, and he could see where Killmonger was coming from. That's why he was like that. But anyway, here's the point. So going back. So basically, excuse me. Killmonger wanted to basically show all these other nations, like, hey, like we're the biggest thing smoking. You know what I'm saying? Like, he thought about all the people, back, when he was, growing up, in California, in Oakland, California, basically, and how like all the like African Americans back there weren't like getting the justice that they deserved, and then Wakanda had all this stuff that they were just keeping hidden, and they weren't trying to do nothing about it. He was trying to bring all that out into the open. So he had a very aggressive way of doing that, because he didn't ask them, he demanded them. He told them that they better do that, basically. And so like, because if I remember correctly, T'Challa ended up getting revived with the help of the Man-Ape guy. I'm gonna keep calling him Man-Ape because that's just who he was in the comics. That he was Man-Ape. And like basically his peoples, like his true peoples, like Shuri, like she got the same name as you, Shuri, and
I can't.
Cherie, and then Nakia, and then I think I want to say it was Ramonda was with them. I think it's Ramonda who was with them.
Yeah, which is his stepmother.
Right. The three of them were like going over to try to get T'Challa because they weren't convinced that he was dead, and if he was dead, that they could revive him. So that's why they requested the help of Manape. And so, like, you know, when they finally like revived him, he went back to basically get his throne back. And so that's when even what's his name, Killmonger, had made a comment because he was trying to kill all legacies. He was like, you know, that challenge shit is over. That's exactly what he said. And so then
I think they had the CIA guy with them as well.
Yeah, they did. Like Everett.
Yeah, because I think originally they didn't even know that Black Panther was dead. I mean, they didn't know that he was alive. They thought that he was dead when he got through off the waterfall. But Manape actually had him, and they were like asking him for like the help because Killmonger had came up in there and took over everything, and they was assuming that Black Panther was dead. But they didn't know that they had that somebody, I guess a fisherman or whatever, somebody had found his body like off to the side and kind of like then they grabbed him, and they had grabbed I think Nakia grabbed one of those flowers. She had grabbed like one last one before they had burned it all, and that kind of revived him, and then they buried him, and then he was able to kind of wake back up and whatnot. So
good attention to detail. See, I was trying to sum it up by saying they
I just thought that was a very important part.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, I get you. I feel you. I was just trying to sum it up because I wanted to get to the other stuff.
Oh no, most definitely. Yeah. And we're gonna get to that soon.
We're gonna get to a lot of that stuff. But basically, what ended up happening was there was a big, you know, like blowout fight because, you know, although he said he, you know, get rid of the challenge stuff. T'Challa basically fought him anyway.
Was like,
he said, whatever, we fighting, whatever. Like, either you're going to like answer this as in like a that's cool, we can have this little.
Or I'm just gonna come and attack you.
Or I'm just gonna attack
you. That's what he said.
Exactly. So, like, you know, there was a fight between them, and then there was a fight between Wakabi. I was just telling you about him, and then his woman. Initially, like she sunk, you know, the little pet on who was it? They were trying to attack. Was it Manape? They were about to like truck him over, and she stepped in, and then like the two of them had a little confrontation, and then like he had his weapon, and she pulled her weapon out, and he said, "You would really attack your love?" And then she said, you know, she would always for Wakanda.
Said, for Wakanda, without question.
Without question.
I'm like, well.
Which after that, it was like, you know, well, first of all, it's hypocritical because, I mean, like, he was ready to attack
his best
friend and anybody else who stood in his way for a dude who did not care about him, a dude who he just met. And,
like, where's your loyalty?
Right, exactly. He was so blinded by his wokeness. Like I told you, he was too woke. After that little Get Out situation, he was trying to just do everything that he could to be as woke as possible. I'm telling you. Anyway, so I'm sorry. I was feeling that one, but yeah. Anyway, so basically, long story short, there's a big fight. The fight between T'Challa and Eric Killmonger went on, and eventually T'Challa stabbed him in what I believe was his heart, and basically, like, he knew it was over because Killmonger said, like, damn, that was a good move. He even said that, so you knew it was over at that point. And so I think that entire time you could even see it on T'Challa's face, like he felt guilty. He felt so guilty about everything that happened, but and you knew it not only just by his facial expressions and how he looked at him, and even what happened when he was listening to Eric Killmonger, but the emotion and the rage that he had when he spoke to his father again, when he told him he was ashamed. Yeah, you know, you could just feel the emotion and how he felt about that whole entire thing. And they even got to the point where T'Challa felt bad enough to say, you know, we can heal you. And Killmonger basically, you know, said the quote that I don't even have to say the quote, but basically the quote that he said was related to him. He rather, like, you know, die than, you know, be in bondage for the rest of his life. That's basically what the quote said, which was awesome because it made total sense, and then it just fit his character. So I mean, eventually T'Challa ended up making the decision to help other countries, and then they
Which was
kind of went
awesome.
into that, which was cool. And yeah, that's pretty much the movie summed up, maybe in like 10 minutes or so. But like, yeah, that's pretty much like what happened. So that's a little bit review wise of kind of like how the movie went. Now let's kind of get into some of the things that we both liked. So Cherie Magnet, would you like to start and tell us tell the audience here
Sure,
what you like?
sure.
Okay.
First of all, the action was amazing. I'm a big action person, so I love action movies. I love fighting scenes and all the fighting scenes, like especially the casino scene. Like, I was like, oh my
Talking
gosh,
about Korea.
oh my gosh, it was awesome. And I love the representation of women, like especially black women and darker complected women. Like I was just like, yes, like I just loved that. Like that was just amazing to see women in roles like that. And to show them being like so powerful, even like his sister, like I think it's Suri or whatever, and showing like how smart
Shuri. I say Shuri because y'all got the same name.
My name is Cherie.
It's close.
Anyways, but his sister was like, you know, smarter than like Tony Stark's, like, and she was like amazing. She had all this like crazy technology that Black Panther like used, and like she's like imitating, like she's like in the car and she's driving, and then he's flying in the air, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. And then like between like Nakia and her fighting, I'm like, girl, you better get it. And then like oh my gosh, the all women's army that pretty much protects like Black Panther. I forgot what her main name is.
You talking about Okoye?
Okoye. Yeah. Oh my gosh, she was just a beast. Like that casino scene when she threw that wig, I'm like, what? Like I was just like, oh my gosh. And she had that little stab. She would have. I'm like, girl, you better. But it was amazing. I absolutely love.
Turned into like a radio or something for like 2 seconds right there.
But yeah, I absolutely shut up. I absolutely like loved everything about that, and the plot, like everything made sense. Like sometimes when you have movies like that, like it just like it okay, they have like a lot of action and everything like that, but the plot doesn't make sense. You're just sitting there just like, okay, so wait, what's going on? So I really liked that, and I liked how his family was very supportive as well. And I remember seeing some other videos talking about like they were so happy about this being like a superhero, not talking about like slavery and you know different things like that. And I thought that was awesome to show Black people like in roles like that, because you don't really like see them like that, especially like as a superhero and somebody that's rich, and you know the way they present themselves. Like it was just amazing. And I love even like the videos that I had seen with people going out there and dressing up and having their like African attire and being just so excited about the movie. I thought that was amazing.
Agreed.
Like the movement of this movie, and how like Michael B. Jordan said, this movie is for everybody. Like you can, it's so many different like symbolism, so many different things you can learn in this movie. It was one scene, the casino scene actually. What's his name? The director, Ryan Coogler. I seen a video with him, and he was basically breaking down that scene and how the symbolism and how like even with the colors like that they had on, like Black Panther had on black, Nakia had on green, and I keep forgetting her name. Okoye, she had on red, and that symbolizes like the African flag. And I'm just like, wow, I didn't think about that. And then like he was talking about different angles and how like they shot different things, and even different styles between Okoye and Nakia. Like Nakia is more like a war dog or war hero like type thing, so she's always like using whatever she can to fight, whereas with Okoye is kind of like, you know, she's kind of like, this wig, I don't want this on, so I'm taking that off, and she's using her staff, and she's just like getting it. And then like Nakia, I think she took her heel off and like stabbed somebody. So they were like utilizing like different things. So I thought it was really good to see the women like so like powerful, and that was just an amazing thing for me, especially being a Black woman, to see another Black woman in a role like that. Like that was just amazing. So those are just like some things that I really liked about it. What do you say?
So the first thing that I would say is I agree with Miss Magnet over here, and the fact that she thinks that the action was pretty good. The action scenes were great in Korea, like that. There was nothing that could be beat with that in that movie. The fighting between T'Challa and Killmonger was cool. Every fighting scene I was like just very impressed with. Like I really, just truly enjoyed it. Like I said, I think Okoye kind of stole the show as well too with her fighting skills.
Oh my gosh.
I was just like, man, that's crazy. And they really portrayed, like she said, like black women really well, because black women get a lot of like negative, heat. And I think it really did like Marvel really did a justice and bringing those types of characters to life, and you just look at them differently, because like I said, it isn't just like the people of my culture who looked at them differently. There were like people of all different types of cultures who get like a lot of respect for Africans and even African Americans to a certain extent. I think that piggybacking off of that comment, I think it did a lot for like black culture just in general. Like first of all, because that was the first like Marvel cinematic movie that had a black superhero as the main character, and it did a role because it did a justice for that community, because it influenced people who were both non-comic book fans and comic book fans alike. So it got everybody kind of interested in it. You even got to the point where you had like young black kids, and they're going around there telling their mothers, "Hey, look, there's a guy who looks like me on the screen, and he's a fighter." I think that's really cool that they kind of put that on the map, and then they were politically correct and culturally correct about it. So I thought that was another cool thing about the movie. Killmonger's hair was cool. I gotta do my hair like that one time.
No, he will not.
You can't act like it wasn't cool.
On him, honey, you're not doing that.
Okay. Anyway, so Killmonger's character in general was cool. Like he was a very compelling character. I thought that like the way that they did that and everything, like they really brought somebody to life that I guess nobody even knew. They put him on the map basically. You always got to respect a person or a group of people who can create a comic film based off of the comics, as closely as possible, because of course they always change things. As seen with, first of all, Nakia, because Nakia in the comics is not the same Nakia that you see on screen. Nakia was actually an obsessive girl of T'Challa, and she even tried to kill one of his girlfriends at the time. That's who she was in the comics.
And then she ended up turning like bad as well, and I think ended up working with Killmonger.
Yeah, but in there she was basically an ex-girlfriend. She was all on his side. So I mean, like you can just tell just by things like that they change certain things. I just wanted to just throw that out there. But the thing about it is that I think that they really like did a justice, especially for, like I said, just the like the character. And I think that anybody who can bring a character like that to life that nobody knows about is doing an awesome job.
Most definitely.
I would say that T'Challa's suit was really cool. It's because, like, I mean, really, just think about all the powers and all the functionality that he had just in that one suit.
Right.
I mean, he already was a good fighter, and he already had all these other abilities, and he already was super intelligent. But to, top it off, he had a dope suit. Like, his suit looked better than Batman's suit. Let's be real. It looked way better than Batman's suit.
Yeah.
And it was far advanced to anything Batman had technology-wise.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So to me, I was like really impressed that they did that. It almost was like a symbolism, like his suit symbolized the power and the potential of the black man. It's almost as if it was a symbolism of that, and this movie kind of portrayed that, which I thought was really cool. And I also found that in this movie they did a good job of basically portraying kind of like what the issue was and where the issue started. In other words, like they kind of piggybacked off of this whole idea of generational issues that continue over and over again with the Kings, for example. Think about how all the trouble that the Kings have caused, like T'Challa going forward. His father's mistake, like that was like, an issue that he had to face going forward. So they kind of foreshadowed the issues actually going in our world as well too. So if you think about it, like, one could argue, oh, well, that was just an issue with T'Challa because of the fact that, his dad had that mistake with Killmonger. But think about it. He had to have made other mistakes, and here's why. Because W'Kabi was very disgusted by the Kings of the past and felt they had done nothing. And he wanted T'Challa to be different, which tells me that wasn't the only mistake that he made, but that was the biggest one that we knew of. So to me, I think that we saw a big generational gap. So I guess for me, I liked everything that I liked about the movie was the fact that it was just choreographed so well around like a comic book character that people were more so bringing to life, but then it also kind of like um, did a justice for people, I guess, like on a social level as we see our world today. So I think it had a great mix of that. It wasn't too much. It wasn't too little. There was just enough action. There was just enough silliness and fun in the movie for you to still want to pay attention to it. You grew close to the characters. You liked the funniness of them. You loved the relationship that T'Challa had with his sister. Like everything about it was just, I think, done very well. So that's what I think as far as the things that I liked. Now let's move on to things that we did not like about the movie. So, Cherie Magnet, would you like to take this one to start?
First of all, before I even start with that, let me throw this out. It was very hard to be like, unbiased to this because I was really excited. I'm like very excited about Black Panther. I don't really say it was more so cons because I feel like different things that I was kind of like, concerned about or kind of like, like, oh, I kind of want to see a little bit more about this. It can be in Black Panther too. So they could just like throw a little bit out there, but they got it like a little bit. So we're like a little bit interested. So I would say the relationship between T'Challa and Nakia, I kind of wanted to see the backstory on that a little bit. Since they were in a relationship before, kind of like why they break up. Are they going to get back together? Is she going to end up being like the queen type thing? So I kind of want to see a little bit of where that's going to go. But again, that could be something that's shown in Black Panther too. They probably want to just like throw it out there. Like, I'm going to sprinkle some salt on this real quick. So, I don't know. And then the whole thing with like his actual mother, I want to know kind of like how they were going to spin that. Because I know in the comics, like she ended up dying, giving birth to T'Challa. So I don't know if they were going to like keep that kind of like plot or not. And kind of maybe like show the relationship between him and his stepmother a little bit more. In the comics, she was like, always kind of like there for him. And I kind of want to see how that's going to go because I read a little bit about her like possibly being kidnapped. And if they're going to like, kind of like show that in Black Panther 2 or not. So we'll kind of see about that one. The other one I was really concerned about was Killmonger's mom. Because I'm like, okay, they ended up abandoning him.
Huge question mark.
And I'm like, okay, so where's his mom? Did he have if he didn't have his mom, did he have anybody there? Because, I mean, growing up in that mentality, like, you're so used to, like, death and everything like that. Like, did his mom die too? Or did he just have his mom? Or was it, like, some close family members? So I kind of want to see a little bit about that as well. So, like I said, it's not really, like, cons for me. It's more so I just want to see a little bit more and kind of where it's going to go. So I'm kind of more interested to kind of figure out what's about to happen. So I think they did a really good job on sparking my interest because I'm like, oh, I wonder about this, and I start asking different questions and whatnot. Yeah. So they did a really good job with that. So I'm like really excited for Black Panther 2, even though Black Panther 1 just came out. So that's where I'm at.
Well, the fact of the matter is, we know there's going to be a Black Panther 2.
Oh yeah.
The popularity, everything. It's the same year. We're already like, when is Black Panther 2
we just
coming
saw
out?
It like
can
weeks ago.
Can it come out in 2018 again? Like the second one, like please.
I wanted to actually like sit in there and watch it again. Like, can I just like sit here again and just like
wait for the next show? Like, yep, I'm staying for the 7 o'clock, and I'm gonna be there for the 8:45.
Because it was just that good.
Yep.
So yeah, sorry.
It was good.
Go ahead.
No, it's cool. So basically, let me tell you about the things that I did not like or thought could be improved, and I'm gonna piggyback off of what she said again. I swear I say that a lot, but whatever. Anyway, so basically, it's hard really with this movie to not be biased because I am a black male watching another black male as a superhero. That's one thing that I had to say. So for me, like, I really had to dig deep with this movie just because of the fact that, it's just like I had to think about it in an unbiased way, but I was able to do that. So don't worry. I'm not saying that like I wasn't able to come up with anything, because I was. So one thing that I would say that I would improve about Black Panther as a movie is, to me, it was a bit predictable. It was predictable because I could always kind of envision what was going to happen. And I don't know if it was because the movie was a little bit predictable or because of the fact that I'm just good at like kind of just telling, storylines and how they're going to work out. Because think about it. It was obvious that Eric Killmonger had got left behind in the little scuffle. It was obvious that when Eric Killmonger had walked up into that kingdom, that when he was going to fight T'Challa, that he was going to beat him. It was plainly obvious. One, because he had already beaten Manape. And two, because he was so ready. Like, he had been waiting for that his whole life. Mm-hmm. And T'Challa was just trying to just kind of get rid of him so that, he although he knew what was going on, he just wanted to kind of get him out the way so he wasn't causing too much trouble anymore. Mm-hmm. I think that was the biggest thing. So I kind of knew that was going to happen. We knew that Killmonger was obviously going to die. We just didn't know how he was going to die. Mm-hmm. We knew that someone was going to betray T'Challa. That ended up being his boy. But we knew that was going to happen because of his actions before that. Mm-hmm. We knew that the king was going to be blamed for a lot of the stuff that happened because, really, he deserves the blame. I knew all of this stuff was going to happen. And each event that happened that led to the next, it always made sense. That might not be a bad thing, but to me, I felt like I was kind of telling the story, although it was already told. That's just my opinion. That's one thing that I would improve, like with the movie, is the fact that the surprise elements weren't really surprises. They were just kind of like I was waiting to see how good it would be. Mm. So, I think like with this movie as well, too, I think that you almost kind of have to shift gears, too. And this, like, again, might not be a con. And some of you out there who like just thought it was a good movie may be trying to hit me over the head or punch me in the screen or probably clicking that little dislike button on the YouTube videos and stuff. But like another thing too is like I try to follow the comics like I follow the movies as well too, and they changed enough for me to be like, so is this about to happen or is that about to happen? And I'll explain one of the big things that they changed where I was like, so what does that mean? And I guess like for me personally, that like the Nakia thing, I think I explained that a little bit earlier too. Like they changed that character, but that the problem I had with that was the potential to create another supervillain who could have been really good in the future. Mm-hmm. But they squandered that by making her just a regular girlfriend. That's what I mean by like I think that they could have improved on that. Like they didn't necessarily have to do that, but they did anyway. So the last thing I would say that I would improve about the movie personally is I'm just a little hurt that I didn't see my girl Storm. Like I get it was an alternate universe. It was the 616 universe. I get it. But I think that if I would have seen Storm or at least a tease or something like that, that could have been a branch off instead of them making thousands of X-Men movies, just like the millions of Spider-Man movies that they make. I feel as though that they could have like kind of spun that into something where maybe Storm had her own story. But I guess that's one of those too soon, Nick, too soon things, because we just got Black Panther. Mm-hmm. So why would we just all of a sudden get this black girl named Storm? Not to be prejudiced or anything, but I just feel like for me personally, I think that it's not even just a race thing, but it's also the fact that there's other characters in X-Men who haven't gotten the shine they needed. For example, Mystique, who is one of my favorite not even X-Men, one of my favorite Marvel characters. She hasn't even gotten her shine. So why would they give Storm her shine? Why would they like not do that? Why wouldn't they give a movie to somebody like Magneto, for example, and talk about his origin? Or how as they have described that he's a parallel to Malcolm X. My point is this. My point is that I kind of wanted to see that relationship develop because of how much I read and heard about, kind of what happened between them. I thought it would have been interesting to see them fighting side by side with two completely different powers. Hers being, electricity, and his being, the Panther suit. Yeah. So I think that's cool. But, I think it's cool that we saw what we saw. And maybe I'm asking for too much, but that's something that I kind of wanted to see because I wanted to see Storm with him.
And that doesn't mean we won't see it in Black Panther 2. There's
That's
so
true.
many different things that they can do to spin different things. So
I don't know, baby, because he was kind of feeling the keys.
So
I think Storm's kind of out the picture.
He
honestly.
was, but they could have do maybe even like a flashback type thing. They could do something like that. It's so many different things to do with it, and I mean, truthfully, like I'm just so excited about the movie. Like it was just like amazing, like I said before. And it was very hard to even pull like little things out like that. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there have been other movies and shows that I pulled out like a billion different things and I'm like, this just don't make sense. But Black Panther, everything made sense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they did a really good job with that. And even like the, actors, actresses that they got to play those different roles, like they really brought the character to life. And I thought that was amazing. And I felt like I was in Africa. Like seeing that, I'm over
got
here. Like,
optimistic
I'm over here
about
like,
life.
hey, like I'm over here doing like little dance. I'm seeing like they're doing little drums and stuff. I'm over here getting hyped. Like it was like amazing. So again, like don't take this as we're being negative towards Black Panther and we didn't like it. No, we absolutely loved it, but it
Which
wouldn't
y'all probably could tell anyway.
You wouldn't be able to really like review something if you didn't pull out little things that you wanted to see a little bit more of. So don't take it as we're being negative, because that's not it at all.
They probably not. They probably think that we probably saying too much good stuff.
Probably.
Really.
Probably said way too many good things.
But I mean,
But I just want to throw that out there too, in case somebody was like kind of like hurt by whatever. So
yeah,
don't want to hurt nobody. We loved everything. So
right. So let's talk about our favorite character. So I'll actually start this time, and I'll tell you who my favorite character was. I think the MVP of this movie goes to Eric Killmonger. Let me tell you why he's the MVP of this movie. First of all, that character was so compelling, it's not even funny. Some people have even compared him to Heath Ledger's Joker. I think that's a stretch, personally. Because to me, I mean, there's no comparison, because nobody will ever play a character so good, not even just in a comic cinematic movie, but just in any, like, character playing role. Like, that character was just done so phenomenally. There's no comparison. And they're two totally different people. But let's talk about Eric Killmonger. First of all, he kind of reminds me of people kind of back in my area. So I'm from Oak Park, Michigan, which is, over by the Detroit area. He reminds me of like that homie that you meet in the Detroit area, like or any other like hood basically. And they're like so motivated to basically get up out the hood and like do something with themselves, but they're motivated by kind of like this raw emotion and this raw aggression. Like it's like you see everybody walking around with the Detroit versus everybody shirts. It's like he was doing that on a bigger scale. It's almost like he was doing that. But I think it's cool, and that's what makes him a compelling character, because his struggle and what he believed was understandable. I mean, think about it. I mean, they just left old dude. I mean, he was clearly a part Wakandan, and they just left him there to struggle and to fend for himself, and he was built on survival, and they showed that all throughout the movie consistently. When he killed his girlfriend, it was clear that he was built on survival, because he was ready to just offer. He didn't care.
No.
When he got to Wakanda, when he killed Ulysses Claw after working with him, dragging him in there, he had that plan. That told you that he was a mastermind as well too. He walked up in there to basically saying that Wakanda's got all this stuff. Y'all just sitting here chilling, living good. He even said it too. And then like you could do all this stuff to help all these African Americans back at home, because really, to be honest, it makes sense, because he was part Wakandan, so being African American as well too was part of his heritage. So at that point, he felt that it was necessary to do what his father kind of was already thinking. The problem with him though was that he did it on such a crazy and a big scale.
Yeah.
Like you almost was like, dude, what are you doing? Like, you doing the same thing the Americans are doing. You trying to cause a war, and it really boils down to selfishness a little bit. Like, you think it's really a good cause, but it ends up boiling down to selfishness. Because the thing is, he was trying to do it by force. He didn't ask nobody. He just told people, hey, this is what we need to do right now. That's it. So he had no respect for the culture. And what he really wanted to do was he wanted to burn any chance of future legacies to be built, which is not fair. And the reason why it's not fair is because he didn't want the same thing being done to him. He was quite upset when they didn't take him back to Wakanda. So why would he not give anybody else a chance to be king or to do anything up in there? If he was so pressed about wanting, African Americans, if they had the opportunity to kind of delve into the treasures of the vibranium and what they can bring to the people. So to me, I thought he was a compelling character because he was so flawed, but his flaws made sense. What he was upset about made sense. His anger made sense. Like he should be pissed. Because I mean, this king who's supposed to be this great king who cares about everyone and wants the survival of his people, left his people. He left his people right there. So I think that he was almost like a sympathetic villain, he was a villain, but you understood him and you almost kind of sided with him a little bit. Now, I don't think it was fair to take that on T'Challa, but I think that for what it's worth, I think that all he knew was death. All he knew was survival. That's what he was built on. Like I said, that he's basically homie across the street who been through hell his whole life and finally found a way out and took advantage. That's who Eric Killmonger was. And I think that there's so many Eric Killmongers out there in the world. There's so many of them. So I think he's so relatable as well too. And I think Michael B. Jordan did an excellent job acting out that role.
Oh my gosh,
and even bringing like that sinister side, especially when he was like, "Hey, Auntie." Like when he said that I was like, this is a cool character right here because he's so evil. It's so cool. Him being so evil was cool. Like I was literally cracking up when he said, "Hey, Auntie." I'm like, this dude is so evil, man. So that's why I say like to me, that character was just so compelling. I think he is probably, for me personally, my favorite villain, top two, tied with Loki. And the only reason why I'll say he's number one is because Loki's kind of on the anti-hero side now. Ever since what happened with Thor, the second one, that was awful, and the third Thor, which was Thor Ragnarok, which was a great movie. I would say him because Loki's almost kind of like on the fence now at this point. So that's why I would say like he was my favorite character. What about you?
I say I would have like two.
Okay.
Definitely Black Panther. I feel like he really changed a lot in the movie as well. Like at first he was like kind of focused on trying to be like his father, and then once he learned about what his father, who he really was, it was kind of like, I need to do things a different way. And then I think there was even a scene between him and Nakia, and she basically said to him, like, you get to decide what type of king you want to be, which was so powerful because a lot of times, like, especially when you're in that type of role, you think like, oh, I have to follow this type of role or follow in these type of footsteps. And I think T'Challa like really changed up. I mean, even the fact towards the end, he was like, I'm going to start like sharing. I'm going to start like, I'm going to go to, even though like, a bad situation happened at Killmonger's like house. He's like, okay, I'm going to buy this and build it up. I thought that was awesome way to like kind of learn from the mistake, even though the mistake was not really his. He was able to really like, learn from that and advance. And I thought like he really just like developed so much as a character. And the fact that, I mean, he was a main character, of course. He was awesome fighting and just like, he was just an awesome like, character all around.
Agreed.
And I would also say, and I keep forgetting what her name is, and she was the one that was fighting. Okoye. Oh, I'm gonna get it. Okoye. I thought she was like one of my favorites as well because she even changed a little bit too, because she was kind of like stuck in the like tradition. Oh, I'm gonna protect the Black Panther. Even when Killmonger had kind of took over, like Nakia was like, "Are you gonna come with?" She said, "I can't. I have to stay here because this is the tradition." She was so, accustomed to that. And then when Killmonger started doing some crazy stuff, she like, hold up. No, we're not about to do this. And I think she kind of like changed her mindset. Like, I need to start sticking up for myself. Like, this is not right. I need to say this is not right. And the fact that, I mean, she was like a total badass as well. So, right. I mean, she really like did her thing. And I really liked her as well. And her fighting and everything like that. And she really did have Black Panther's back. Like, she was the definition of a homie you want to have with you all the time. Like, because old dude, that wasn't his best friend. Okoye, that was his best friend. She cared about him. She had his back. So, yeah.
I was going to say, I just want to make these two comments. Number one, I like the fact that that Chadwick Boseman, who is a South Carolina native, he didn't drop his accent out. Not one time. That's the first thing I had to say. Like, so I'm agreeing. I was like, right. I know, right? Like, I can't do that.
I was sitting there, I was like, dang, I was trying to practice mine, now that I have your attention.
Right. Well, like, it's funny because, like, when he was doing this video and I was about to say, like, I never freeze. I'm like, am I going to say this right? Like, I don't know how he did that.
Like, I never freeze.
Right. Like, I'm like, what? Like, how did he say it like that?
How are you so calm but angry at the same time?
Right.
Like, even when he was walking up, he was like, The battle is not done. As you can see, I am still alive.
It's like, all right, thanks for notifying
like,
us.
but he was like
guy.
really angry, but he was calm. Like, how do you do that?
Right.
That takes some practice.
The other thing too is like y'all can't tell me that Killmonger was not wearing Vegeta's gear. You can't tell me that. Do you see his gear? You see the blue shirt and the little vest, just like all the Saiyans had. And it's funny because he's kind of like Vegeta in a way too. He was angry. He was on a mission.
Was always angry.
Yeah, and
you know
he's kind of like Vegeta. And like, you know, he was the last of his people on his planet, and he was on a mission because remember he was going around killing people as a mercenary for Frieza. So
oh my
that's what I'm saying.
He's
kind of like
crazy.
Vegeta in a way. He's kind of like Vegeta.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, like because Vegeta, he was like an angry man, and he like came to Earth.
I mean, Michael B. Jordan loves anime as well, so I mean.
Yeah, so basically,
it could have been. He could have been like, "Yo,
can
I have his gear?" Like,
right. Well, he did say he like Goku and Naruto, but I mean, like, given the character that he was playing, I mean, he obviously not gonna be no Goku.
No.
So, I mean, yeah. So I mean, I feel like he has a parallel to Vegeta. Like, there's been a lot of rumors saying that it had something to do with that, and I'm believing them to be true because even the characters of Killmonger and Vegeta are very similar. Mm-hmm. But going forward, so the other thing like I kind of like about the whole thing is that it just seemed to me like the actors were all kind of like in sync with each other, like the fighting scenes, the way they interacted, and even the emotion that was feeding off between Killmonger and Black Panther. I enjoyed it all. I just thought it was great. So the last thing I want to talk to you all about before we give our final rating there, we're going to tell you all what kind of rating we giving.
He thought of that all by himself.
I did. What kind of rating are we giving? So anyway, so basically, I want to talk to you all about the final, scene that they always do at the end of every Marvel movie. Mm-hmm. So it basically dealt with Bucky Barnes and him, basically waking up in the little hut in Wakanda, and then the Wakandan children were looking over him and they were calling him the White Wolf. So let's just pause on that for a second. First of all, let's talk about the White Wolf. The White Wolf was a character in Black Panther. He was a boy named Hunter, and the plane that he was on crash landed in Wakanda. He was a Caucasian male basically, but he was the only person of his family to actually survive. And basically, T'Chaka took him in and adopted him as like another son before T'Challa was even born. And as T'Challa, was born and was growing up and things like that, they started kind of treating him in a way where they were saying he was just the other child. So he, in a way, Hunter resented T'Challa. And he even got to the point where he blamed him for the death of his parents. Like, I don't know how he got to that, but basically the point is that White Wolf, he was put in charge of this police force that was in Wakanda, and eventually, like, they got to the point where, like, they did, kind of meet amends. Like, they did make amends, like, they were cool, because he ended up becoming a mercenary and going off to kind of do missions on his own, and he was kind of still loyal to the fact that if Wakanda needed him, he would be there for him. So he's kind of like an anti-hero because of his strange relationship with T'Challa that ended up becoming a little bit better. Point is, I just want to give you that back history, story there, but Bucky Barnes was almost kind of referred to as the White Wolf there, right, which was interesting because it tells me that they're trying to yet again change another thing in the Marvel Cinematic, basically, universe. So, like I said, kind of like the Nakia thing. Like, they're changing the fact that, there really wasn't any adopted brother, because the thing about it is he would be older than T'Challa, because T'Challa was, like, not even born before, like, they adopted Hunter. So, the thing is that I think that what they're trying to do is make Bucky the White Wolf at some point. So they're going to try to have him drop this whole Winter Soldier mantle that he has. And then even if you look at kind of screenshots from the upcoming movie, the Avengers Infinity War, you can see him fighting along Wakandan soldiers. So it's almost as if he's taking on that like White Wolf role. because I mean obviously he's there and they're probably gonna get vibranium or something to try to get that arm back together after Iron Man done tore it off. But basically, I think that what's gonna happen is they're almost gonna kind of give him that role, so they're almost combining two characters into one, which I mean, I understand because like that would be, to explain the White Wolf thing would be a lot to kind of put into the first Black Panther movie. So they got to find a way to explain that out, but still put in a major character who meant something within the story. But yeah, I'm hoping that they do that accurately. But I'm feeling like Bucky is gonna be the kind of take on that White Wolf kind of storyline. That's just my opinion. I don't know if that's what's gonna happen, but when they called him that, it was kind of like a tease because they didn't do that just for nothing, in my opinion. Like he had to have had some type of role in the whole Wakanda storyline ever since they healed him. Like maybe he just wants to take on that role because of what they had done for him. I don't know.
Yeah. And I also I don't know, because I feel like they could kind of change that too, because the way like Suri had kind of looked at him as well, was kind of like she was kind of like feeling him a little bit. So
you think so?
I don't know. I kind of got the vibe that maybe. So we'll see how they do that. But I also wanted to say about Suri.
That'd be weird though, because like that would be like her if they did it almost like her brother. Kind of.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, they would have to change that if that was the case.
Yeah.
But I wanted to say about Suri, I hope I'm saying her name right.
Cherie, I told you. Her name is Cherie. Cherie.
Anyways, I did read and it basically was saying how like eventually she is gonna take up the Black Panther as well. That will be like kind of really interesting to see that.
It would like a female panther.
Like a female panther. That would be like really awesome to see, because in like the comics, I guess T'Challa ends up like getting sick, going into a coma or something like that. So then she kind of takes on that role, because I think she was interested in being Black Panther before, but I think she wasn't allowed to because I guess she was kind of jealous of her brother at the time or whatever. But then when something happened to him, I guess like those feelings or whatever changed. I don't know, but that's what I kind of like read up on. But I think that'd be really interesting to see like a woman being a Black Panther as well. So that would be kind of interesting if she has like all this technology too. So that'd be really cool to see what she would do with her suit to make it kind of different from his. So yeah. So I thought that'd be kind of like interesting as well. So.
And she got the technology on deck, so she probably would like do some cool upgrades to that suit.
Oh
too.
yeah, I mean she was already like shooting like the Panther glove or gunlet things or whatever. Like so.
I mean, heck, she was optimistic about it because even like Black Panther was cool with the suit that she had given him that first time, and then she was like, just because it works doesn't mean that it it can't be improved.
Right.
And so that she's putting that intellect to work there.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, yeah, that's kind of what I think. So, final question, babe. What kind of rating are we giving it?
I would say definitely a 10 for me.
You give it a 10?
Most definitely. Everything about the movie was amazing. The plot, the action, the interactions between the characters, and even them talking about it even afterwards.
My face, by the way.
Their interaction. Don't make that face.
Okay.
Anyways, I like everything about it. I absolutely loved it. Ryan Coogler, you did an awesome job. I loved your other movies as well too. Creed and what was it?
What was it? I was gonna say Creed. I thought Creed was the only.
No, it was another. I think it was like Fruitvale Station.
Oh, Fruitvale, yeah. Fruitvale.
I knew it was gonna come to me. I'm like, because
they both had Michael B. Jordan in it as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Of course, Michael B. Jordan.
Stop that. Don't smile like that. Stop that. Anyway, so going back.
Yeah. I was just saying, yeah. Go ahead.
Anyway, so going forward, so go ahead and ask me the question.
What kind of rating you giving it?
So I'm gonna give it about a 9.3, and here's why I say 9.3. I know that's really specific because I think that the movie was good. It had good action. It had good comic relief. I think the actors did a phenomenal job. I think that I was impressed by pretty much everybody who was within the movie. And then the storyline was awesome. It was very close to the comics, but it was still like different enough where I wasn't like too like upset about certain things. Again, the predictability is the only thing that brought it down a little bit, but didn't even bring it down that much. So I would say like 9.3. To me, it was the best Marvel cinematic movie that has ever come out. That's my opinion. Mm-hmm. The only other movie that's even close to it is the Avengers, the first Avengers. Mm-hmm. But like, and Thor Ragnarok is up there too.
Thor was awesome.
Thor Ragnarok was an awesome movie.
But Black Panther,
Black Panther
is top of that.
I would say Black Panther is number one. Mm-hmm. Like of the first Avengers is like at a close, really close second. Mm-hmm. And then Thor Ragnarok probably is third, which is still they're all pretty high up on my end personally. So that's just my opinion on that. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed what we had to say. I hope you guys enjoyed, a lot of the kind of like reviews and the things that we thought about it and kind of learned something about the movie and, took some things in for yourself and have some things to kind of anticipate as well too. This will not be the only movie / TV show / anything.
Just the beginning.
Yeah, that we will do. So there's going to be a lot more to come. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I know you see it. Don't go and change the page or go to another video or check out some other video that does a review kind of similar to ours. Ain't nothing gonna be similar to ours, but you get the point. Don't do none of that. Just click subscribe, click like, put your comments there. Subscribe to our channel, like anything, because we're gonna have so much more content for you and a lot of like cool stuff. It's only the beginning. So
thank you all for watching. We appreciate it.
Yep. This is Team Magnet TV. So we're signing out.
Woo!
See y'all later.
Bye.